Hello everyone. So today we are going to cover the object-oriented concepts in Apex. This is a very interesting topic. Let me know if you are able to see my screen. Okay. Now, object-oriented concepts in Apex are very interesting. Okay, there are many people who learn admin part and then directly jump onto the development and start writing triggers. Every time I ask these questions in interviews, they know it theoretically, but they sometimes, even after doing those things, they don't know how they have used those things in Salesforce. Okay, so object-oriented concepts are the concepts which have a lot of you can say uncertainty attached to it, like how do we use it, how Apex is object oriented programming and all. And mostly in an interview, whenever interviewer tries to trick you by these concepts, you get tricked because you have never focused on these concepts a lot in past. Because what we do generally is that we create triggers and then we create generic Apex classes and our work is done. So we don't, or most of the time, think it from that point of view. Okay, but here we will cover the object oriented concepts as well, so that we will be able to understand these things. Just give me a minute so that I will. Okay, all right. So whenever we go through the theories of this, you will get very generic theory, like there is a dog class and dog can do this and all. So that way it becomes very generic. So what I'm going to do is that I will explain it by writing code in front of your screen, and then we'll be showing you how it actually works. Okay. But before that, let us understand what is the class, because everything which happens in an object-oriented programming happens through classes and objects. So let us first understand what are the classes and object. Okay. So let's first come to the class. Okay. Class basically is a wireframe. Okay, class basically is a wireframe by which you create things. Okay, this is the generic definition. Okay, class is the collection of properties and behaviors. Okay, this is another generic definition. Class is the collection of behavior and properties, and class is a wireframe which class is a collection, or you can say a container which provides you a wireframe to create things. Okay, now for a moment, let's assume that you create accounts, right? And we call account as an object. Okay, for a moment, feed just assume that account is not an object. Account is a class. How we create account from screen is we go to account, we click on this new button, service console. Okay, so we go to account and then we click on new button, right? And then we provide the values in it. Okay, so as per our assumption, now let's say account is a class, and this class has certain properties like account name, account number, rating, website. These all are the properties of account, and it has certain behavior like save, cancel, save and new. So save is a behavior of it. Okay, so now let's just try to mimic the functionality in the object oriented programming. So how we're going to do that is, if you open the debug console, and if you have to create a new account, how we're going to do that? Account, new account is equals to, let's not call it new account, let's call it account A is equal to new account. See, account is a class, and we have created a new instance of this account. This is just like clicking the new button on account creation page. This is just like creating a new button. You clicked a new button and you got this page. That's what you did here. You created a new instance of it. An instance of a class is called as account, and instance of a class is called as. So what you did is you created an instance of a class. Okay. And this is called as the object. And what is this A called? A is an instance variable. Okay. So anybody has any doubt in this slide? What does account A is equal to new account mean? Account is a class, A is an instance variable name, and we have created a new instance of account class so that we can create a new account. This is just like clicking the new button on UI and then filling the value. How do we fill value? Let's say we fill value test account here. How we do this thing here is A dot name is equal to test account. You are able to find the relevance here, guys. How we create account on the UI versus how we create account in the backend. How things work in the backend is the way we will be able to find the relevance of what we see on the screen versus what happens in the object-oriented programming. How do we create classes? How do we create the records in the backend, okay, by creating the instance of the class. So in the backend, there is already an account class available, which is not visible to us. This is already there. And when we create the instance of it, we can create the new account. We need not to create a new account class that is already there in the backend. Okay. And that is why on the UI, what you see, what you see on the UI in the backend, something like this happens by which we are able to create accounts from the UI. Okay. Okay. Now, how do we save account? By clicking on the save button. Okay. Here, how do we save account? By writing the insert A. Okay. So what we learned here is that class is a collection of properties and behaviors. What are the properties? Like account name, rating, website, everything. Behavior is like the save button. So by clicking on save button, we are able to save it. So save is a behavior. So every class in Apex will have certain properties and certain behavior. So whenever we create a class, this will have certain properties and behaviors. Behaviors are nothing but the methods. Properties are nothing but the variables. We create variables inside the classes, then we define the data type of it and everything. So every class in Salesforce will have properties and behavior. It's not necessary that every class will have property, but obviously we need properties in order to manipulate those behavior or in order to provide values to those behaviors. So every class will have properties and behavior, and class is a collection of property. Now class gives you a wireframe by which you can use these properties and behaviors. Okay. So that's about class. Anybody has any doubt in what is class, what is behavior, what is the instance variable? Because these things are going to play a major role. And most of the time when we are admin, like I don't know about other people's, but I was very confused when I started learning this. See, this line itself took me a couple of days to understand. So I was not able to understand this line. Like, what does this actually mean? Where is this account? The question to myself was, where is this account? What is this? Like, if I have created an Apex class and then create an instance of it, that is visible to me, but this account class is not visible to me. So there was nobody who can explain me that thing, that this is already pre-built thing. When you create a new class on your own, you will be able to see this thing happening in front of you. Okay, so if anybody has any doubt, be specific and just ask those questions, and also just give me a second, guys, huh? All right, sorry guys, there was somebody at door. All right, so anyone has any doubt in class and object? Because this is the base. All right, everyone is intelligent. I think I was only dumb person in the beginning. Okay. All right. So object-oriented programming has four concepts. Okay. And we will see what are those concepts. All right. It is encapsulation, polymorphism, and I can maybe wrong in the spelling them. Okay. Abstraction and inheritance. These four are these four concepts are known as the concepts of object-oriented programming. Okay. Encapsulation is very easy. Encapsulation basically says that your ability to bind the properties and behavior together is called as the encapsulation. The classes which provides you the ability to bind the properties and the behavior is known as the encapsulation. So we will have classes, and then inside those classes we will have certain properties, we will have certain methods which we will be using along. So that wireframe, the ability to have in various methods and various properties inside your class is known as the encapsulation. So encapsulation is very easy. We did not to do much on the encapsulation front. The simple example could be that we have, let's say, a class. Let me create a new class. Okay. And I'm going to use a very good example which I found on the when I was learning these concepts from the book Apex Design Pattern from Jitendra Jha. So credit goes to him for this example. I like this example, and I can relate with this example, and many people will be able to relate. So everyone must have played this game during our childhood, that Mario. Like we used to play this a lot and used to love this a lot. Most of the 90s kid have played this. Throughout this, we will be taking example. We'll be taking this game's example to understand the object-oriented concepts. Okay. No more dog class, no more cat class. Dog can bark, cat can haul. We are not going to do that. Okay. So this is a class. Let's say we create a method, public void ability, and inside that we will have a system.debug, which says that I can walk. And then there is another method, public void info. And beside this, we have system.debug, which says that I'm Mario. Okay, let's close this. So let's also say that there is a public static of string game level. And okay, so we have created a class which name is Mario. We have a variable, or you can say uh, game level variable. We have methods. Okay, so the ability to bind methods and properties together is known as encapsulation. Okay, that's the simplest of all. All right, after encapsulation, we come to the inheritance. And inheritance and polymorphisms are pretty much connected with each other. Okay, so one thing about the object-oriented concepts is that in a class, if you are using one concept, that doesn't mean that you cannot use other concepts. Or if you are using one concept, it does not mean that other concepts will be very different. They are very closely connected with each other. And with example, we will understand them as well, how they are connected with each other. Okay. Now we'll come to the inheritance. What inheritance says that a parent class, there will be a parent class. Okay, how do we inherit? We inherit some properties from our parents, right? Similarly, in the object oriented programming, we say that inheritance, the meaning of inheritance is that there will be a parent class, there will be a child class, and child class will inherit few things from our parent class. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will do a simple example. Okay. Now, let's say we had this class, okay, public class, Mario class, and then let me create another class. Okay. Let me save this and create another class. Okay. Now I'm going to call another class name Super Mario. Okay. Now this Super Mario is basically a child class. Okay, this Super Mario class will be able to inherit what the Mario class already has. Okay, and on top of that, it will have its own thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's write a method. Public uh, void. Let's use the same method. Okay, which method is this? Ability method, right? We will also have ability method here in the Super Mario class, and it says that system debug system.debug I can run. We all know that Super Mario runs, right? Let us save this. So currently there is no inheritance. We have not done anything. This class is independent and this class is also independent. Okay, there is no inheritance. Okay, now if we want to inherit this, if we want this class to inherit something from Mario, then in that case I will have to make this class as a virtual class. Once we make this a virtual class, okay, we'll have to also make a method virtual. Okay, virtual keywords basically define that this class and the method which we have made virtual can be extended by another class. Okay, in that case, this will become the parent class and the class which will extend will become the child class. So we have made this class as virtual, and now we will go to the child class and we will make this class override the behavior of ability method. So this is the method which we are going to use, right? So in this case, we will have to make it override. Now, in this case, this ability method will override what we have written in this ability. Okay. Now, once we write the override, we will also have to tell which class we will have to override. Okay. So in that case, we will have to use extend keyword and then we need to tell which class we are going to override. So which class? It's Mario class. Okay. Now, just a second, guys. I must have written something public. Just a second. Okay, this was some save error. All right. So now what we have done, let's revise what we have done. Okay, we have created a class Mario, two methods, ability and info. And out of this two method, I have made this class virtual so that other classes can extend this, and which method they can extend is virtual. They cannot extend this, they cannot use this method because this method is still a normal method. Okay, this method does not have a virtual keyword. They can only override the method which have the virtual keyword. So if I try to override the info method, I will not be able to do that here because that method is not virtual. Okay. So on the parent class, we will have to make method virtual as well as class virtual. On the child class, we will have to extend the parent class and need to make method as override so that compiler and runtime engine will get to know that what we'll have to do. Okay, from where we'll have to fetch the data. Okay, but now if I run this method, still it will print the system.debug I can run. Let's test that thing. Okay. Yeah, hi Swapnil, go ahead.
And both the method name should be same or it should might be different.
They should be same. They should be same. And because of that same name, we will be able to use the polymorphism behavior. What polymorphism says is that one method like method name will be same, but we will be able to do different things inside that method. Okay, so polymorphism means that one name multiple faces, or one name multiple behavior. That is what polymorphism means is. Okay, and the ability to extend or inherit the functionality of parent class in a child class is known as inheritance. Okay, we will see it right here. So let us play with it. Let us play some debug logs here. Okay. If I create an instance of Mario class, Mario, let's say obj is equals to new Mario, and we print um obj dot info. Now obj dot info, the info method on the Mario class is related to the child. So it should print I am Mario. If I do obj dot ability, this should print I can walk, right? Any doubt till here? No, right? So what we can do now is, let us print this and see what happens one by one. We will do steps one by one, and there is no rush to fast track this because most of the people do this topic in too much rush that okay, this is just inheritance, this is just polymorphism. I don't want to do that. I want to do this in detail. So I am able to print what I wanted to. This is super easy till now. Now what I want to do is I want to create an instance of sub Mario class. Okay. So there is a special behavior. There is a special behavior because we have extended the Mario class. We have two options here. We can create instance of Super Mario class, super obj is equals to new Super Mario, and can use the ability method. Okay. Now, if I just run this will print I can run, right? This will print I can run. Till now, no problem. What special feature we have is that because our Super Mario class is extending the parent class Mario, we can use the instance variable we created for parent class to access the method of child class as well, but the only method which has override keyword. Okay, so if instead of this, if I just write obj is equals to new Super Mario, and then we use the obj dot ability, this will also print I can run. Okay, you want to see that happening? Let me comment these two and run this. I can run. Okay, so this behavior is known as the dynamic dispatch. Compiler will get to know dynamically that object we are talking about and which instance variable will be related to which class. Okay, so here we have created obj for Mario class, not for the Super Mario class. Yet we are able to use this obj instance variable for the Super Mario class, but this will only work for the method which is common between these two classes. You see, the ability method is common between these two classes, not the info method. So if you will try to use the info method, in this Super Mario class, you will not be able to do that because Super Mario method is the info method is not available in the Super Mario class because that has not been overwritten. Now, what if you need to, let us, okay, we will talk about this later. Now, see, Super Mario, the reason why we were using inheritance is that because we should be able to inherit the property of parent as well. But what we are inheriting here, child has written its own debug statement, parent has written its own debug statement, and on child we are getting the child's debug, on parent we are getting the parent's debug. So what is inherited actually? So we'll have to inherit this behavior in the child class as well. So if you need to do that, then for that you will have to tell compiler that I want to use the parent ability method. So if you will have to use the parent's ability method, then you will have to write super dot ability. When we use the super keyword, it tells the compiler that now the method which I'm talking about is the parents class ability method, not the ability method written here. Okay, so it will go to parent class and will first print this line, and then we'll come to the child class and then we'll print this line. Okay, so now let us see that behavior happening. Okay, so I will just compile this now. It will come to the obj.new Super Mario, this class, and then it will run this method. When we run this method, the compiler will first go to the parent class, will check what is written in the parents class ability method and perform that functionality. Then it will come to the child class and will execute this line. Let me save this and run this. Okay, now let us first write here. Now this should print 1, I can walk, and 2, I can run. It should print both of these things now. So let us execute this. Debug. You can see I can walk and I can run, and I can walk is printed first because we have written the super line first. Okay. All right. I have got few questions on the chat. So let us see that. Do they must have the same method signature as well? Yes. Any real-time scenario. See, real-time scenario as in you will get to see. Abhi, we will talk about interfaces as well. See, first I am telling you from the easier point of view to understand the concept, and then I will show you where these things are actually happening in your project. Okay. So when we use trigger framework or when we use a large framework, in your org, you will see that a lot of these things happening, and I will show you a RF lib framework. Don't worry about that. So you will be able to see the real time things as well. What will be the behavior if we write debug first and then call our method? You want to say that if we write the I can run first uh, here, yeah, we can check that. It should not be a problem. It should be able to run. Now, in that case, it should first print I can run and then go to the parent class and fetch the parent class ability. That should not be a problem. Yeah, I can run and then it printed I can walk. That should not be a problem. See, guys, you have to understand one thing here. The functionality is on the, this is the parent class. Okay. Parent class had two methods. Only one method we allowed to be overridden. And that one method now has been overridden by the child class, and child class has extended the parent class. So the object which you created for parent class can also be used in the child class, but that object can only be used for the ability method. If you want to use, if you write any other method of, let's say, child class, public void second method, okay, and it's just like system dot debug. This is a second method. Okay. Now, if you, as per our example, if you try to use this obj to access second method, you will not be able to do that. Will be B. Let us check that. Okay. See, it gave you error on line 10 that incorrect method does not exist or incorrect signature, because obj will not be able to understand this method. Obj will only be able to understand the method which has the override keyword, and on the same method on the parent class we have written virtual keyword. Okay, so if we'll have to access the parents info method in the child class, that is also not possible because that method is not virtual. If we want to access the child class method with the parent class instance variable, that is not possible because override is not written here. So here this override and virtual plays a very important role. Even though you have extended the whole parent class, you will only be able to get the methods which have virtual keywords written in it. So virtual and override is very important, and you write virtual keyword on parent class and you write override keyword on the child class. Also, along with the override, you will have to extend the parent class. So this is inheritance and polymorphism both, because you are using the same method here, ability to do different thing versus ability method to do one thing here and other thing here. So single method has been used or single name has been used to do two different things. That is polymorphism. Single name, multiple behavior. Single face, multiple behavior. Okay. And inheritance is that because you inherited some behaviors of parent class. So inheritance and polymorphisms are very closely connected. Okay. And that is why I've shown you by writing code in front of your screen so that you'll be able to understand them clearly. Okay. Now,
So Mohit, I have a question.
go ahead.
So for super, right? This I understood. Like override void, you're inheriting the properties from the parents to child, okay? And when it comes to super keyword, what it's also the same method from the parent class, right?
Right. So
So
what super does is, I'll explain you. What
yeah.
super does is, see, on the child class's ability method, I'm doing this. Okay, our Super Mario can run. Okay,
Mhm.
but if on the child class, I'll also need to implement certain behavior which we have written on the parent class. If on child class we will have to execute certain behavior written in the parent class, because they have same method name, ability and ability, how does compiler will get to know that I'll have to execute whatever written in the child class versus whatever written in the parent class? So if I want to have a functionality where I also run what is written in the parents class ability method. Okay, when I want a functionality where I want to run all the things which are written in the parent class as well, and then run what are the things written inside child class, then I can have super dot ability. This super dot ability tells the compiler that first you go to the ability method written in the parent class. Okay, whatever written in the parent class, execute this. Okay, so
Yep.
super dot ability will basically tell the execution engine that this ability method, basically I mean to go to the parent class, and whatever is written inside the ability method in the parent class, execute here in this line. Okay, whatever you have written on the child class will also get executed. But if you want to execute the parents class as well, because otherwise Otherwise, inheritance will not make sense. You will have written a separate thing on the child class. You will have written a separate thing on the parent class, and you will have written a separate thing on the child class. Then what you are actually inheriting? And I am inheriting whatever written in the parent class and want to execute that thing in the child class without writing the same logic. So I need not to write here system dot debug.
Okay.
I can walk. Okay. I need not to write here.
Okay.
I can just go to the parent class and can execute this line by just writing this. Now this is just a dummy class, so it has just one line, but in a real class, it will have a tons of things to do. Okay,
Yeah.
and I want those things to be done before or after I have executed whatever I have written in the child class. So this is inheritance actually. Otherwise, Super Mario can run and normal Mario can walk, and they are two separate things, so there is no need of inheritance. But I want my Super Mario to have an ability to run as well as walk. It is Super Mario's choice when he wants to run versus when he wants to walk. So if I want to have that ability, then I will obviously use super dot ability. If I want an ability that Super Mario will run only, then in that case, I need not to write this line. And in
Yeah.
that case, we need not to even extend the Mario class because Super Mario will be a separate entity then, which do not want to inherit anything from the Mario class, right?
Yeah. Got it. Come.
Perfect. See, this thing where if you guys are doing it for the first time, and many feel that this is very easy thing, but for me these were not easy thing. I was able to understand these things very hard way. Like I have to explore a lot of things, so I don't want my students to, go through that dilemma. Like I'm not able to understand this. If you have any doubt, silliest of silliest doubt in this topic is acceptable to me. I will not say a word. I will try even my best to find a better example if you are not able to understand with this. But I want my student to have these concepts clear on their mind. If you are not able to understand class, object, or anything, no worries. I have learned these things by going through a lot of documentation, and it is completely okay to be confused in this. Okay.
And like one more thing, like inheritance and polymorphism falls in the one thing only, right? So polymorphism, you have overriding and overloading.
Mhm.
And inheritance, you're like inheriting the properties from the parent class. So how can we figure out like is this a polymorphism and inheritance?
They can happen at the same time. It's not
Okay.
necessary that they will happen separately, or we say that okay, this is the polymorphism versus this is the inheritance. They can happen at the same time as well. Okay, and there are other scenarios as well. We will talk about that once we cover the abstraction as well. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yes,
Eh,
Manjula, go ahead.
Yeah, usually we use a super keyword, right? I mean, I never use that super dot ability or method name. Like,
Mhm.
what is the difference in both of them?
See, normal ability will only run the ability. See, if you remove the super keyword and try to save this. Okay, now if we try to run this, we will get some error. See, what happens is that the execution engine will not be able to understand like ability is the method which is executed, and inside that there is another ability. So it will create again an instance of this to run, but it will not be able to because it is the same method. It will run in the recursive mode. But if we provide the super, then in that case, execution engine knows that is it has to go to the class which was extended, and then there will be a separate method because we have used the override keyword. So in that case, the execution engine will first see, okay, super is there. That means I'll have to go to Mario and I'll have to check this method. If I remove the override from here, then also it will not work because it will only work for the method which have override keyword here, so that it allows virtual keywords to play the part here. Okay, so these all things are connected. If we'll not provide super, the execution will not, engine will not be able to get to know that which ability method to. And in that case, it will only take this ability method. So if you call the same method inside a method, obviously that will reach the stack depth because it will try to create another instance of it again and again to run it. Okay, so it will not be able to, and we will get the exception there. Okay.
Okay.
Try to play these things on your own as well, guys. There will be a lot of doubt which you may come. Okay, and that is completely okay. Sometimes we will have to learn these things by doing, and I'm all in to cover this in a doubt session as well, because I understand these things are confusing. These things can be really confusing for somebody who has started learning Salesforce from the admin, or they don't know much in the development. Their basic fundamental concepts are not clear. See, there are people who come from Java. They know these things very well and they'll be able to understand in a day. But there are people who are not programming background, who are not from programming background, or even from the programming background, but they never liked programming. So they may find it really difficult because see, how I've learned is that after admin, I started learning the development. Now, in the development, I started writing the triggers straight away. So these things were always weak, and then I had to go through these things in order to learn them. Yes, hi Avdesh, go ahead, ask a question, or Shikib, whichever you want.
Yeah, Mohit. Actually, this super dot ability is the behavior of the class or the property of the class?
See, it's a behavior of the class, not the property. See, property is something like account name, account website, whichever has a value associated with it. Whereas behavior is something which is associated with an action. Okay, like save button. From the Salesforce point of view, you will understand there are buttons, save button, cancel button, clone button. Those are behavior versus name, account name, website, billing address. Those are the properties. Okay, so method is basically a behavior, whereas variable is a property. Okay.
Okay. And one more thing. Encapsulation is just a wrapping up of data and function together, right?
Correct, correct,
So,
correct.
from here, like, what is the data and
See,
method? I understand, like, publish this override word ability is the method, but data.
there is no data. There is no data.
Okay.
And that is
Okay.
completely okay. That is completely okay. So sometimes encapsulation is basically the ability to wrap various properties and various functions together, various behaviors together. Sometimes there'll be only properties, sometimes there'll be only behaviors. That is completely okay. That depends on what kind of container we want to create, and that container will give you a wireframe to create things. Okay, so sometimes we want to have a container which will just have behaviors. Okay, sometimes we want to have a container which will have just the data, like the utility class you create for your test classes, which will have only the constant name. That will have a class which just have the properties. There is no behavior, right? We create
Mhm.
a utility class in Apex which just have the constant names. So that class only have the constant variables, like constant properties. There is no function attached to it, and that is also acceptable. Okay, so it depends on what kind of container we want to create, and later on by using that container we will have to do a lot of things inside our programming. Okay, so
Okay.
encapsulation is nothing but ability to be able to bind various functionalities and properties and behaviors together. Sometimes they can only be behaviors, sometimes they can be only be properties. Both are fine. It's just the container which can combine both of these things or a single thing together. That is encapsulation. Okay.
Okay. Clear. Last question, Mohit. Are we able to extend more than one class here?
No. See, so that is the problem with Apex, is that we cannot have, Apex does not support multiple inheritance. So you can only extend one class. Okay. And that is possible in Java. So to overcome this, we have inheritance. Sometimes we use inheritance, and uh, for inheritance, we implement inheritance, not extend. So we extend classes and we implement the interfaces, and we can implement multiple interfaces. Interface is our next topic. We will cover that after this. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't understand. Actually, what do you want to say? Like, in the at the place of extend, we have to use the interface, right?
So
And this
because
is different thing,
huh,
or it will comes into the inheritance only.
it's a different thing. It's a different thing. And
Okay, okay.
for now, you understand that Apex does not support multiple inheritance. So we cannot extend more than one class. Okay.
Oh, clear, clear.
Now, what can happen is that there can be a child Mario class which can extend the Super Mario. That is possible. But this Super Mario cannot extend Mario and let's say any other class. That is not possible in Apex. That's a limitation of Apex as well. Okay. So when they ask you is can we extend more than one classes in an interview, you can say no. Apex does not support multiple inheritance. Okay.
Okay, but through what do you guys say, interface, it is possible, right?
Yeah. Through interface, we can implement multiple interfaces, but we cannot extend more than one class. So we will first cover interface, then I will answer.
Yeah, yeah, clear, clear.
All right, Harshal, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Mohit, good morning.
Good morning.
Suppose I want to extend my info method in our Super Mario.
Mhm.
How can I use it? Only by using super keyword?
No, even with the super keyword, you will not be able to use the info method. So if I write super dot info, I will not be able to run this.
Mhm.
The
Should I?
reason is the reason is
Or
okay, let me see. Okay.
Oh, it exists now.
Okay. Because we have not given any virtual,
virtual.
Virtual.
it should not be, but we are able to.
I think we are accessing in a method ability override. That's why. Can we just write it after super info? Uh, where-
Is it because we are using the super keyword? Is it
Mhm.
allowing to inherit?
Just a second, guys. Yo, obj is equals to, let's create a simple instance. Yep, we are able to even get that as well because we have written the super keyword, but that is strange, right? Because we have not written the info class as a virtual class.
Uh,
So
I think can you just write it mm, before? Can just go to the Super Mario. So can we just write it down super.info outside our method? Just try it. I think we are accessing inside it and it's override. So that's why it's possible.
just a second. Hmm, 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 hmm. Hmm. In that case, you've got the error. Non-virtual, non-abstract method cannot be overridden.
Override.
Okay. But we are still able to.
Can you just write it on super.info outside our method, like after the closing parenthesis, and just comment it out the, yeah, after, yeah, that line, and just comment it out our void info method and the last 12 line. Yeah.
You want this?
Yeah, yeah, right. And can we just access it now? I think we are using override method, that's why it's accessible in super.info. Inside that, can we just,
We are using override method to override the ability method. Okay.
right, right.
Not the info method. So info
Mhm.
method is still an independent method of the parent class. This should not be, uh, this should not be, we should not
Oh,
be able to access that.
right.
So I will check that. Okay.
I think by we are using extend keyword.
Yeah, we are
Um,
extending the whole class. That could
right, right.
not to be, but still the method, this info method is not a virtual method. So I
Mhm.
think it should not come to the child.
Right,
Okay.
right,
And otherwise, what is the need of overriding it?
right, right, right.
See, we cannot create another method with this name here
Mm.
by using the override keyword, because this is not a virtual. So we will get the same error, non-virtual, non-abstract method.
Right, right, right.
That is clear. The only thing we have to figure it out is that how we are able to access the info in the
Mhm.
child class, because it's a method of the parent class which is a non-virtual
Mm.
method. Okay, so this could be
Okay.
because we have extended the whole Mario class, and by the virtue of super keyword we might still be able to
Mm.
find it, but then that beats the purpose of having overriding that.
Override keyword. Right.
But it is completely possible. We cannot override the info method here in the child class. That is
Mhm.
that is true, right? It could
Right.
be possible that when we extend the parent class, if we want just to have the info from it, or just want to read what it is without being able to override it, that could be possible by the super keyword.
Super keyword. Yes.
Have a discussion on that as well. We will check that. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good point. And that is what, guys, when we actually do these things, then we figure out a lot of different behaviors which we thought that might not be possible, or which we feel that are weird, and then we dig them more to understand how this is happening, and then that basically clears our doubts a lot. Okay. Hmm. Yes, Neha, go ahead. I see you want to say something. Avdesh.
Yeah, like I have this question. So when it comes to execution part, right, we always create an instance. It's not always, maybe for few classes you have to create an instance and then call that method, right, to execute. So how do we have to I I just wanted to ask, how should we figure out that we have to create an instance for this, and for this we shouldn't be creating any instance while executing it in the async
This is a very good question, actually. And and
because I have asked this question like while I was taking the training also. He said we usually do this way itself, so I didn't get answer since then.
Just like that. See, what happens is that if our method is a static method, right, then we need not to create an instance that can be executed directly by class name dot method name. If our method is not static method, then we call it as an instance method. And in that case, we will have to create an instance of it. And that leads us to a very important question: why we create a static method? What is the need to create a static method? Is it only about how we execute them? I ask this question a lot in interviews, and let me tell you, 99% of the people fail to answer this. Okay, so I'll tell you here. I ask this: what is a static method? Okay, and everybody, almost 99% of the people say that the only difference between static method and the instance method is we can call the static method directly by class name dot method name, whereas for the instance method we'll have to create the instance of it. But what I want to ask is why, I mean, it cannot be about executing. Like there should be some behavioral differences between static method and instance method. It cannot be about execution and then they just say, okay, I currently don't know this. Okay, so what happens is that static method is a method which belongs to the whole class. Okay, there can be certain behaviors, which are same for all the you can say all the instances of the class. Okay, let me take a very simple example. We all drive, right? We all drive. Okay, there can be certain behaviors. Okay, when I'm talking about static method, there can be certain behaviors related to, let's say, car class. There is a car class. Okay, there can be certain behaviors which are same for all the cars, like driving. Every car will have an accelerator. Every car will have a brake system. Every car will have a let's say uh, anything. Every car will have airbags. So there are certain behaviors which are same for every car. Okay.
Yeah.
Every car will have accelerator method, no matter which car it is. Every car will have a brake method, no matter which car it is. So it is common for every car. So in that case, this could be a static method. We can create a method called accelerator, and that could be a static method. Now, whereas there can be certain methods which are not specific for every car, like let's say there is a method which called anti-locking, or which called whatever.
Automatic.
Yeah, yeah. Automatic. So every car will not be automatic. Okay. Every car will not be, will not have a same safety features. So those features are car specific. So when we have, let's say, Mahindra car, those will have 4x4 features. Whereas when we create a instance of Maruti car, that will not have a 4x4 feature. So these features are dependent on car type. These features are specific to a particular car. So whenever we have something very specific to certain types of thing, then those will be the instance variable. See, this 4x4 feature, this 4x4 method will only be available when we create the instance of a Mahindra car. Okay, this will not be available for when we create an instance of Maruti car. So these are specific to certain type of car. These are specific to certain instances of the car. So this cannot be static method. So whenever we'll have to create a method, we'll have to think ourselves. This method is going to belong to all the instances, or this is going to be for all the cars. Yes, then that will be a static method. And 99% of method in Salesforce are static. Okay. And
Okay.
see, that is why, because 99% of method are static, we never think about static versus instance method. But as a good developer, we'll have to always think whether that particular method belongs to every instance of a car or not. Or its car is an example by which I understand this. This could be a different example for you. This could be a different. I have gone through hundreds of example on this. Trust me, I have gone through hundreds of example, and this couple of examples are very generic to everyone. That is why I use them. But I will also, once you understand this, I will also come back to this topic again tomorrow, and we will have a Salesforce specific example on this. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, thank you, Mohit.
Anyone has any doubt in static, I will definitely ask this in our mock sessions, and I don't want any wrong answers, guys. Okay, don't tell me that because execution is different, they are different. No, execution is a way they are executed. That cannot be the defining factor of having a static or non-static method. It's just a different way of it's just a one line addition, like we will create two instance of it. Okay, so that cannot be a difference. That can be a different way to execute them, right?
Sure.
Hey, hi Mohit.
Hey, hi.
So just like Java, static methods and static variables are initialized at the class loading time only. So just like that, the similar execution happens in the Apex also, or this has some other environment like in Java we have JRE.
Yeah.
So there is similar kind of thing, or it runs, or this Apex is also translated into Java in the backend, or these has some other things.
I am not sure if it gets translated or something, but yes, it also happens at the runtime only that we do all these things. So I think that's pretty much similar, but I can go much in detail if you want to. I have never gone through that much detail because nobody asked that thing from the comparison of Java. The comparison will only come when you say that your background was from Java. And if interviewer's background is also from Java, then he may have a discussion with you about similarities and differences between Apex and Java. Okay. And Apex is, as I said, it's a pre-cooked language. So most of the things which happen in
Yeah.
never get to know, like you used to get in Java, you never get to know what happens in the background. So it's better if you know, very good. If you don't know, I don't think there is any need to go very much in detail. Even the Salesforce itself don't know much. If you ask what happens in the backend to the support associates also, they will say that not much idea because it is pre-cooked thing. Most of these things are baked in the backend and just presented in front of you. Okay.
Okay.
But I can dig more if you want. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Mohit.
All right. Hmm. See, I always like teaching this topic because there is a gap in market about these topics. Nobody teaches them by actually doing things. They just teach it by very generic examples. And I understand generic examples look very easy and we understand that thing. But then we always feel that how we use it in the real time in Salesforce. Like, yes, I know what is polymorphism, but where is the actual implementation in Salesforce? That is the question um, uh, we sometimes are not able to answer. So I will show you how it is happening. When you check any good trigger framework, you will see a lot of these things happening in the back end. We will also create examples right in front of. See, currently, I took an example which is very easy and can relate to everyone, Mario and Super Mario. But still, we did those things practically on screen rather than just. I could have done it in just 10 minutes, all four object-oriented concepts, all four in just 5 minutes. But I want you guys to know these things, how it happens in. And I need your support in this because I want you guys to do these things in your own developer org, then only these concepts will be clear to you. Like there were a couple of generic doubts, how we define static versus non-static. Everyone will have that question, but nobody dare to ask that question because they feel that it's a silly question. Or what will somebody think that I don't know even this thing? No, nobody is going to see. I told you, I was not able to understand this line of account A is equal to new account. I was not able to understand. It took me days to understand that line, and it is completely okay. It is completely okay to have those kind of doubt. What I am saying is that when it comes to development, even the slightest doubt is a good doubt. There is no silly doubt at all. Okay, so feel free to ask your doubt and we will try to find, and that doubt might solve someone else's doubt as well because there are few shy people, they not ask doubt. All right, that brings us to the interfaces. I think I will cover this tomorrow. I don't want to do this in rush. Uh, and before understanding interfaces, we will have, see, before understanding abstraction, we'll have abstraction. The last concept is abstraction. So before understanding abstraction, we'll have to understand what are the interfaces. And then we will have to cover what are the abstract classes. When we cover these two topics, then you guys will be able to understand what actual abstraction is. Because all out of all four object-oriented concepts, abstraction is the most you can say complex one. Not complex one, it's just that there is not much clarity available in terms of abstraction concepts. Because to teach abstraction you have two options: either you just write down what abstraction is and rush through the topic, or you sit down, relax your students, and then teach them what is interface, what are the abstract classes, what are the difference between abstraction, interface, abstract classes, virtual classes, and interface. And then the students will get to know the actual meaning of abstraction. So I'm not going to rush anything. I will sit down with you. I will first teach you what is abstract class, then what is interface, then what is the difference between abstract and virtual classes, where does interface lies, and then you will be able to understand abstraction by yourself automatically. Okay, so that is something we'll go and do tomorrow. Along with that, abstraction and interfaces, we will also do couple of keywords, like what is with shading, without shading, what are the access identifiers, because we get a lot of questions from there. So that will be the agenda for tomorrow's class. But I want you guys to do practice today on the topics which we have covered. Okay.